Laura, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Thanks
Kyle.
for coming over.
You betcha.
This is going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to this one. This is it's going to be a fun one.
We'll see.
Well, let's just jump into it.
Sure.
So, you and your husband have always wanted to have a little farm when you were young, right?
Jamie and I met in high school. We got married soon after high school, and one of the things we always wanted was to have a little farm and be little farmers. Jamie's background, his father was a dairy farmer in upstate New York.
No kidding.
For many years, yeah. This was before Jamie was born. And it was just something I think that was ingrained in him. And I was always kind of a country girl. My dad was from West Virginia and grew up in the country. And I heard stories about him, too, growing up. And it's just something that we just wanted to do, yeah.
So, obviously, that dream started becoming a reality, 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, we knew we wanted to do it. We moved to Harvard here in 1996. We had 3 kids.
Great kids, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. They are great. But it was something we always wanted to do. And you get busy with life and growing your family and running kids from practice to Girl Scouts and,
Oh, busy.
wrestling and, football and cheerleading. And it's not like the dream ever goes away, but it gets put to the wayside. And our kids are now out of the house and finished with college and doing their own thing. And it was time. You either chase your dream or you put it in the closet up on the shelf and you leave it there. And we just weren't ready to do that yet.
I hear you. So tell me about it. What got you right place, right time? Or
Yeah, right place, right time, right age. We're still young enough to be able to do it, financially secure enough, I think, to follow our dream. And ballsy enough to go after it, I guess.
Well, you got to have a little bit of that.
You do.
Yeah. Whenever you're chasing a dream or you're going to do something that's out of your comfort realm, you got to have a little bit of that vigor to go get it done.
Yeah.
Or to at least try it, to attempt it. And if you fail doing it, hey, if I didn't do it, I would be kicking myself in the butt for
the rest of my life. Yep.
So you got to just hunker down and say, okay, it's time to do it. So you and your husband bought a little farm.
We did. It was really just a house and a barn. It's on 7 acres, and it was being farmed by another local farmer. It had corn on it, and our vision was to do cattle and chickens, and so we just jumped right in, and we took over our farm lease from that farmer when we bought it. We finished out the year with him, and then we had another local guy. I don't know if I can say names or not.
That's up to you. That don't matter to me.
We had Josh Kaunhofer put in our pasture for us because we didn't have any machinery. We didn't have anything. You start out with this vision and you're like, now what do we do? So it's been like pieced together. And Josh put in our pasture and we watched it grow. And when it was established enough, we said, okay, time to put the fencing in. That was an all summer project, auguring in 90-degree heat.
Oh, no.
But we did it. It's completely fenced with high tensile wire, and it's an electric fence.
Yeah, because you want to keep the animals in, don't you?
You want to keep the animals in and the coyotes out.
That's
right.
Right.
That's the big thing.
That's right.
So, and then we got our first 2 calves. And it was like, ooh, we're doing it,
It's a start. Well, the big thing is once you had bought your house and your barn, now you have this vision of, okay, hey, we got the house, we got the barn. How do we go about doing this?
Right.
So you knew step 1 is we're going to need a pasture. We're going to need somewhere to put these animals.
And to feed them something. Right.
So you did it right. Step one, get the pasture right, get the barns right, get your property the correct way that you wanted it. So when these animals decided to come, when you decided to buy these animals and put them on your property, the property was ready at that point.
We also built a large chicken coop. We currently have, I'm gonna just throw out a number between like 40 and 45-ish egg layers, because I don't know, it changes from year to year.
Exactly.
We lose a couple, we buy a few. Oh, that's kind of a neat breed. Let's get a couple of those. So we've got a bunch of egg layers. So we built the coop. We built a run. We got the cattle. We got a couple of calves. Things were going great. And then it's like, okay, what next?
Okay, so I'm going to pause you here for a minute. Okay. So you said that, oh, well, these chickens are pretty cool. And so do you buy these chickens local? I mean, do you buy them online? I mean,
we buy them mostly from a hatchery.
Okay. Okay.
I do not want to be the one to incubate eggs and be responsible for that. That was my next process where I was going to go to, but I just assume buy 100 different ones from a hatchery somewhere and get them in the mail and hear them chirp 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 the whole way home, and then put them in and
start raising them that way.
Start raising them that way.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know if you actually took the eggs and started, with the old lighter and be like,
no, I'm not that good.
Well, not yet.
Well, I don't plan on it. I like the different varieties. We have a bunch of different ones, so I like the different colored eggs and the different varieties that you can get. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was where I wanted to go with that. So then you got two, I'm assuming bull calves is what you ended up getting? Or?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So then at that point, you're like, hey, I got this big old pasture, and I've only got 2 calves out here.
So we started with the 2, and we currently have, I think it's 14, 4 of which are calves, one of which is just it's like a week old.
Wow.
We've got 2, I call them the teenagers. And then we've got 2 teenagers that we just introduced to the herd. So technically, I guess there's 5 calves out there right now. Oh, no. 6, because one was born on the pasture this past spring, too.
Oh, wow.
We had our first one born.
That's cool.
So some of them are Angus cross. Some of them are, we have a Wagyu.
A Wagyu? Yeah, Wagyu? Yeah. Oh, good steak there then, huh?
Yeah. So we have some Angus Jersey cross. We have the Wagyu. We have a Mount Billiard. We've got some Herefords. I just had one of the Herefords inseminated this morning, so hopefully we'll get another calf next late spring-ish probably. So
yeah. Do you have somebody come in to do that then?
We do. Somebody local.
Okay.
From Select Sire. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you learned how to AI when you started the farm and thought, heck yeah.
Well, I watch them enough, and is it something I might try down the road? Sure. Just like this was the first time I castrated one of our little bull calves. So I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. And, you get all these different experiences. I wouldn't have even attempted to castrate or band, I should say, the bull calf this past weekend had I not been banding our goats, our bucks. So every animal gives you new experiences that you can kind of carry over into the next animal. So
absolutely. Yeah. That's the nice thing is if you started castrating your bucks, then hey, to castrate a calf, it's basically the same thing. It's just bigger.
Yep, exactly.
So at that point, you can say, well, if I can do it on this, I can do it on that.
Yeah.
When you have all of these different breeds of cows, types of cows, are there any specific, how do I want to word this? Do any of them get sick more than others, or do they, I mean, they all have their own personality. There's no doubt about that. But are there any more that are more complicated than other ones that you've seen, at least in your operation? Or are they pretty well, here's the feed, they eat, there's the water, go drink?
I would say that the Angus Cross are bold. They're more bolder. They're more confident in themselves. We do have a Mount Billiard. I call him Monty. He's a little more timid. But as far as like sickness, no, we stay on top of that. They get vaccinated when they're little. One of the things that we do is every day my husband goes out, and at least in the bedding and the feeding area, he picks up all the manure. He puts it in the manure spreader. We then take the manure spreader over to another local farmer's field, and we spread it on a hay field so that the hay that we're feeding back to our cows and our other animals is organic. It's fertilized with the manure that we use to, that we get from their pens or from their
it's brilliant.
lot. So, and I feel like that's probably, there's no chemicals in it. I try to promote in our food, in our beef, our pork, our chicken, our turkeys, that they're pasture raised or free range or natural. They're more natural. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the natural things that we do. And I feel like when you're giving your animals the proper, not just nutrition, but you're doing it more naturally, you have less issues with, antibiotic resistance and things like that. So, no, I wouldn't say that any one breed is more difficult than they're all different. They all have their own personalities.
Absolutely.
But I haven't really seen any breed that's harder to do than the others.
Right, because, I've had conversations with, like, dairy farmers, but a lot of dairy farmers have one select breed.
Yes.
Or a different select breed, but they're all the same. Or even a lot of the people that raise beef cattle around here, they're usually all one type. Mm-hmm. So to have somebody come in here that's got several different types, I was like, oh, man, this is a question I got to ask.
We're striving to get the best beef. And we're going to try this, we're going to try that, crossed with that, we're going to try this, we're going to try different ones to see. That's why we got the Wagyu this time around, to see, is there really a difference between an Angus steak raised this way and him raised the same way?
And that is awesome.
And that's what we're striving for, is the best beef, the best pork, and trying to do it as naturally. Now, you can do all grass-fed. And I'm not putting down any grass-fed farmers out there.
I was going to get to this question here in a little bit, but you're reading my mind here.
And that's great. Like I said, I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody or anybody's practices. But what's the most tasty? When you want a steak on the grill on a Saturday night after a long day, and you're drinking a glass of wine and you want a good, juicy steak off the grill.
Corn-fed.
I want one of my steaks. Not one from Walmart, not one from Mariano's, not one from the grass-fed place. I want one of mine because you know what? I've tried all theirs. And I feel, honestly, and I know I'm biased because it's mine, and I worked hard for it, but I think that's what we're striving for, is to have the best product out there.
So do you feed corn or anything like that?
We do. We get a feed, a grain, from a local farmer.
Okay.
We go straight to the farmer with our gravity wagon and fill it up.
Perfect.
And bring it back, and then we mix it with a feed that we get from Complete Feed. And
those guys up there at Complete Feed are pretty good.
They are pretty good.
I'm a little biased, too, because maybe they've been on my podcast before, but hey.
They know their stuff. So anytime I have a question about something, I've even called them and asked them questions like, hey, does your product have GMOs in it? What's in it? Is it natural? What is this ingredient? And they've been able to come back and answer all my questions and steer me in the right direction, because, like I said, not only do I want the best product, but I want the most natural that I can, aside from fully grass-fed, which I'm just going to throw it out there. These grass-fed farmers, there's no grass in the winter. It's underneath a foot of snow.
Right.
So what are they just feeding? Hay?
Well,
what's in the hay? How has the hay been fertilized?
True.
So those are questions that, you know.
The other thing you got to
I
think
get
about that,
sometimes.
though, too, is that you get 150 miles south of here, and they don't get that much snow.
This is true.
So it depends on the different parts of the world
Sure.
that you're living in as
Sure.
well. So, I mean, we can have 100% grass-fed beef up here in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, but maybe that beef came from Nevada. Maybe it came from Texas. Maybe it came from
Mexico.
Who knows? Who knows? But
Who knows is right.
So it really could be 100% grass-fed
Mm-hmm.
beef. It just depends on where it came from. But the nice part about what you're doing is you know where your beef came from. You
Yes.
know where your pork came from and your
Yes.
chickens and everything else because
Yes.
you've been raising them since they were this big.
Yep. And anybody that buys from us are more than welcome to come and take a tour. They can come and take a tour of our farm, see where our animals are living, how they're being taken care of. We offer that to everyone. We also do like homeschooling groups and daycares and things like that.
Oh, that's
People
great.
want to know where their food is coming from, more so now than ever.
I agree with that.
And they want to know not just where their food is coming from, but what is that food also eating? What is that cow eating that I will at some point be ingesting myself? So
Yeah, because it seemed like, and this seems like it's really taken off in the last 10, 12 years.
Yep.
You know, before that, it was like, oh, there's a steak on the shelf. I'm going to buy a steak. And it doesn't matter where it came from.
and this
Because
one is $12 and that one's $15, so I'm going to grab the $12 one. Yep.
Exactly. And excuse me, soda pop got me. Anyway, it just seems like people want to know more. And I don't know if it's because of if it's a health thing, if it's just a coincidence thing, if it's a knowledge thing, but anything that we can do or a person like you can do to say, hey, this is what I'm feeding my animals because I want them to be healthy. I want them to make the rate of gain that we want them to make. I want to make sure that the living conditions are the right way. But I think most farmers are that way.
I would agree. You don't go into farming to treat your animals poorly.
Agreed.
You go into farming because you love animals, and that's where your heart is. You know, most farmers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You hear occasionally about one that's not doing things.
There's
Right,
always bad apples in the bunch, right? And that doesn't matter what
Yep.
career it is.
But for the most part, yeah, everybody is trying to do it the right way. And I think, when I was probably 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, that's when they came out with like the microwave and easier to make meals for mom who is now going back to work. And before you know it, all the good, nutritious food started to kind of, over the years, kind of get pushed away. And now you've got this process, easy to make 30-minute meals that you can just throw in the microwave or whatever. And I think people are starting to fall away from that now and are trying to get back to
The old-fashioned
the real
way.
food. Yeah. Where's real food? Just 3 weeks ago, you got the announcement that they're bioengineering beef in a lab. They're growing beef in a lab.
It can't be that good, right? That's just the way I look
I'm sure
at it.
maybe it tastes great, but it's not good for you for sure. I can't believe that it is. And then they're going to package it and put it on the shelf as real food.
No kidding.
That's not real food.
No. Real food's what you're doing.
Real food is
It's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you got whatever, 13, 14, 15 different head of beef out there. You said you had hogs?
We do. We have 12 pigs right now.
12.
Yeah. And I never really wanted to get into pigs. I never wanted to do pigs. I kind of had a friend when we first moved to Harvard that had pigs, and it was just smelly.
They are stinky.
They would occasionally ask me to watch their farm so they could go out of town, and it was just gross. So I never really wanted to do pigs, and my husband said, "Oh, come on, we should try it." So I started to kind of look into better ways to do pigs. So we have 2 different pens, and we kind of we can rotate if we wanted to, clean one pen, not let it get so yucky, gross and poopy. But I learned a lot about pigs. They don't go to the bathroom where they sleep. They don't go to the bathroom where they eat.
They're smart.
They're extremely smart.
They're very smart.
They know names. They know their names. You can even teach them commands. But they're actually pretty clean. I mean, the reason they get such a bad rap is because they don't have a lot of hair. They can get sunburn, and they wind up rolling around in all their mud. And
you got it. Yeah, and plus they don't really sweat either.
No, and it keeps them cool.
Yeah, that's why they roll around in the mud, so they can stay cool that way.
And the insects don't bite them. I mean, there are reasons why they are the way they are.
And they're intelligent. They're very smart.
Yeah. So we have, right now we have 12. Those go in, I think it's the first week of October.
All of them do?
9 of the 12.
9 of the 12.
And I say 9 because the other 3, 2 of them were like the runt. So they're
a little
much
bit behind.
smaller. Yeah.
A little behind.
Yeah. So we'll keep them a little bit longer, and I don't know what we'll do with them, but yeah, they kind of have a little soft spot.
That's the hard part about having a small farm like you have, because you get to know every one of your animals that you have, whether it's a chicken, a hog, a beef, and you get a little bit attached to them. Cause
you do, but you also very quickly can see when something is wrong.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have
100% correct.
50 of them, and you don't really know one from the other. They all kind of blend in and look the same. When something is wrong, I know it. We have a really great relationship with the State Line vet, and all I have to really do is call and say, hey, I think, because I'm still kind of new at this.
Absolutely.
I think such and such. And they know,
so-and-so didn't eat this morning.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So-and-so looks a little bloated out here today.
Their ears are hanging down. Their tail's not right. He didn't come out to eat like he usually does, whatever. So it's, having a small farm allows you to be a little more intimate with
your
what
animals.
you have going on. Yeah.
Yeah. You also said you have goats.
We do. We do.
So
goats,
what kind of
goats are just as smart as dogs. They know their names.
So are these like milking goats or?
These are Nigerian dwarf goats.
Oh, the little itty bitty ones?
They're not little itty bitty. They're about the size of a medium dog.
Okay.
They are registered with American Dairy Goat Association and Nigerian Dwarf Goat Association.
Cool.
So they have pedigrees, just kind of like a dog would. And then we have babies. We have kids in the spring usually. And then I milk them, and I save the milk, and I use the milk to wean our puppies, because we also breed our Dobermans and our French Bulldogs. So it all ties together. Wow. Everybody on the farm has a job. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody contributes in some way.
So what are the goats there for your fun or
they're great with the grandbabies. They love crackers.
So they're a mama's heart is what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they're there for.
And we, like I said, we kid in the spring, and usually the kids are sold 4-H projects, things like that.
Cool.
That's part of the reason why we have a registered herd, so that other kids in the area doing 4-H and whatnot can maybe buy them and use them for their projects. And
that's great.
Yeah, I've got 2 right now. I've got 2 little wethers I'm still trying to do this year. But other than that, I mean, really it comes down to the goat's milk, because I probably got about 30 or so gallons right now.
Wow, that's
and
a lot.
I'll go through that. Weaning puppies through the winter and into the spring. So
we'll get to the puppies here in a few minutes, but I got a couple other questions. You also have turkeys.
Yes. We have about 50 turkeys.
50?
Yes.
How do they get along with the chickens?
They're separated.
I'm pretty sure I knew the answer to that, but I had to ask
We
anyway.
had a problem rooster last week. He was being a little aggressive with a couple of our hens. He's new. He's just coming into his own. And I thought, okay, this guy needs a real reality check. So I picked him up and put him in the turkey pen. And they were like,
what are you doing in here?
I was trying to watch my mouth. What are you doing in here? And they just kind of did their little turkey shuffle around him and put him back in his place for the afternoon. And then I was like, okay, he's traumatized enough, and put him back in. And he's been great ever since. But, so we have turkeys. We obviously sell them for Thanksgiving and Christmas season. So those guys will go in October. I have a date in the end of October. And
you have any more of them available?
I do.
Okay.
I have.
I'm just asking because if anybody asks, then at least I can say, hey, call her up.
They usually get to about, I would say on average, about 20 to 23 pounds.
Oh, good size then.
Yeah, they're good size. I sometimes have a few that are a little bit lower in weight and a few that are a little bit higher. But if anybody's interested, let me know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't butcher your own stuff, correct?
No. Everything, I'm not USDA certified for that.
Correct.
So everything goes through a processor. Our cattle are usually processed. We have a couple of places, but one of them is Sorgs. Mm-hmm. We like Sorgs. It's local. People know Sorgs. Our pigs are done Country Village Meats in Sublet. Okay.
Wonderful.
They're really great. Their breakfast sausages to die for. So we usually do our pigs there. We have done our pigs also at Sorgs, but processors are hard to get into.
Yeah, right now they are, and they have been for several years now, and it doesn't make any sense to me on why that is.
I don't know. They said because with COVID, things were changed. They lost employees, whatever. I'm not real sure. I would think by now that it would start to bounce back. What I am finding is when you get a calf, you almost have to call
immediately
and set up a date for that calf to be brought in to process like 13, 14, 15 months out because they're booked already.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago when they were having this big shortage of processors and everything else for meat. They didn't know what all these animals were at the fair are going to go. And, luckily these local butcher shops around here and processing places were like, okay, we'll make some room so you guys can bring the 4-H'ers, hogs and cattle and sheep and everything else up. And I just thought that was really awesome for them to be able to go, okay, time out. We're going to push everybody else back a little bit so we can make room for all this. I just thought that was great.
Yep. And that as a person who doesn't do 4-H, I have to plan around that because I know that those processors that I want to use are going to be inundated with all of the 4-H'ers between I don't know. Even
early August?
I was going to say mid-July even.
Really?
Yeah. Through mid-September. So I try not to plan anything between those two time frames because you're not going to get in.
No.
There have been times lately where I said, all right, well, I have something I need done if you should have an opening. Because now that us farmers are having to plan 14, 15 months in advance, you don't know if that calf is going to make weight by then. You don't know if those hogs are going to be big enough by then.
If they survive to do that.
Right.
I mean.
So you have a harsh winter or something. You have this incredible heat wave, 95 degrees first week of September. I mean, I know a couple people that lost a couple of calves because of it. So you just don't know. But I've had a few processors call me and say, hey, do you still have one that you need? And usually by then
you have a better idea. Yeah. But like you said, to plan 14, 15 months out on an animal, that's just so hard.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, the animal got sick 3 times, so it didn't gain weight for 3, 4, 5 days each time. Well, now all of a sudden on a hog, quote me if I'm wrong, but I think hogs used to be like 2.3 pounds a day, something like that. Well, if it got sick 3 different times and it didn't really eat for 5 days, well, that's 35 pounds.
Yep.
And all of a sudden that you come to that date and your hog's 35 pounds less. You're like, well, I'm not quite ready yet. I mean,
the reason that only 9 of my 12 are going in October is because those other 3, we got them all and they were about the same size. They were about 30 to 40 pounds. Mm-hmm. Maybe 1 or 2 were like 50. But I swear those 3 are still probably less than 100 pounds. Wow. Whereas everybody else is pushing 300 pounds by now.
Wow.
I mean, so I have to also, like I said, when we decided to do pigs, we built a couple of different areas, not just so that we can rotate them to keep it cleaner.
Yeah.
But also for this reason. Now I have a place to put the smaller ones because I can't leave them in with the big ones. They'll get hurt.
Yeah, and I do know when it comes to hogs, the big ones will definitely push the little ones out of the way.
Absolutely.
So the
Without
little ones,
question.
yeah, they don't even think twice about it. It's it's survival of the fittest at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the fittest, so they're going to push everything else out of the way. That's just the way hogs are.
Yep. That's the way all animals are.
Yeah. Hogs really are that way. At least if it's a cow, they'll be like, hey, you'll have the dominant one that's in there usually, and so nobody messes with him or her. But then the rest of them are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's funny how you process. That dominant one gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you say, okay, it's your turn, bud. You load them in, and within a day or two, there's another one. Like, all right, that one's gone. It's my turn to be the head honcho.
It's crazy how that works.
But,
so you obviously you make your own hay, or you get your hay bought that you spread the manure on for your animals, and then you deal with a local farmer on corn, and you deal with complete feed on your nutrients and things like that. That's a really awesome way to make use of everything that you have.
We're trying to do it right. The partnership that we have with the other farmer as far as the hay, that's a huge, and in return, we will grow a steer for him and his family, or give him X amount of turkeys come Thanksgiving time or something,
But that's a partnership. That's what it's for. Hey, you help me out, I'm going to help you out,
We also have, he has a business, this particular farmer owns a business in Chicago, and so we also have a drop-off location in Chicago for our meat and our products.
Awesome.
So somebody from Chicago will reach out and say, hey, I want a quarter of a cow or whatever. And I'll say, okay, a quarter beef. And I'll put it together, and he'll take it with him into the city where he's got a cooler, and then they can pick it up from his facility.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And that has really worked. We have a website. So if anybody, it's www.thedefenderfarm.com. You can email us and work out whatever arrangement that you want. If you want to come out to the farm and have a tour, that's fine. We're there. But yeah.
I just one more question, and then we'll move to the dogs.
Okay.
So because you're not certified, so you have to send all your animals to a processing. Mm-hmm. Is there any laws or certificates or anything that you have to sell meat out of your freezer?
Not out of the farm. They have to come to the farm, or as far as I know, because it was processed at a USDA plant, you can sell it.
Okay.
If I was to process it myself, I can only use it for our consumption.
That's correct. I knew that part of it. I didn't know the after part of that. So thank you for answering.
Yeah.
Now we got to get to
There are a lot of rules with that.
There is.
And Illinois has more rules than a lot of the other states around us. So.
Illinois has got more rules than...
Well, you have Chicago, and I hate to be that way about the Chicago folks, but, Chicago used to have one of the largest stockyards back in the day, and used to be a huge hub for animals and processing animals. But now they've got the state of Illinois has some of the strictest rules as far as processing meat.
And it's not just processing meat. I mean, it's getting a CDL. It's buying a firearm.
Yeah,
it's all these things that Illinois needs to open their friggin' eyes and go, okay, you're making all these laws and rules, but are you following every single one of them?
No.
Because if you did, you might as well not leave you might as well not even leave your driveway.
Kyle, you're just going to open up a can of worms.
I know.
With this
We're going to move.
We're going to go
move.
into another episode of that.
My bad. Sorry. Sometimes I get on my friggin' milk carton and
it's all good.
So you said earlier that you breed dogs.
Yes.
Talk to me about that, because I don't know a whole heck of a lot about breeding dogs.
So, I actually started breeding dogs years ago.
Okay.
I love it. It is, I joke and say my 3 children grew up and went off to college and moved out of the house, and I replaced them with my 3 Dobermans.
There you go.
But I've bred Siberian Huskies, I've bred Labradors. Now currently we are doing Dobermans. And what drew me to Dobermans is their loyalty, their huge ability to learn and learn really complex things. You know, labs are great. Labs are happy-go-lucky. Where's my bone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Dobermans are more serious. They take their jobs very serious. And I'm on the farm a lot by myself. And I want to know that if somebody comes up my driveway, I've got something to deter anybody from doing anything.
Or if a coyote pops in the yard. Or
Yeah, I've talked to your brother about this. You know, Dobermans make great farm dogs. They're very loyal. They're sometimes referred to as Velcro dogs because they don't leave your side. My Yara, who's my top female, all of ours are highly trained in obedience and protection. And Yara is one of those where I can be out gardening or doing something, and every 15, 20 minutes or so, she'll just kind of swing by and, you know, make eye contact with me and be like, "Hey, Mom, are you okay?" And I'll be like, "Yep, go play." And she'll be like, "Okay.
I'm still here."
Yeah, I'm still here. I love my Dobermans. I love the breed. Very easy to train. I work with a couple of different trainers in the area. I also do French Bulldogs. Not as easy to train. Way cuter, but not as easy to train. French Bulldogs are... I asked one of our trainers one time, what small breed dog would you recommend for protection? And his answer, without fail, without hesitation, was French Bulldog.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of shocks me a little bit.
They're fierce little guys. They will bark. Obviously, their bite is not nearly as great as what it would be from a Doberman.
Absolutely.
But they make great, not only companions, because they love snuggles and all that too, but they will let you know when there's something going on. And they are great for like people in a city situation that can have a small dog in an apartment or apartment complex or something like that. And they love going, little dogs, French Bulldogs especially, in my opinion, they're adorable. They snort. They snore. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, what's that sound? It's my little Frenchie in the living room snoring. That was what really drew me, was the answer that my trainer, my Doberman protection dog trainer, said French Bulldog.
Go check these out.
Yeah.
And you breed them? Now do you sell them then at that?
I sell them all, yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually I have a reserve list and a wait list. My reserve list are for those people that are like, yes, I want a puppy from you. Our puppies, our Dobermans were imported from Europe. So they are European bred with great bloodlines and pedigrees. They are dual registered in Europe and here in the United States through AKC. They've been genetic tested for different genetic diseases like DCM, which is dicardiomyopathy, and on Wildebrands disease, which is a blood yeah, there's just a lot.
I'm hearing what you're saying, but
again, again,
it's a lot of information.
When we do all this stuff for the farm and our farm animals, we're trying to do it right.
Agreed.
Our puppies are the same. I'm trying to breed dogs that are good, not only family dogs. We've had dogs go to a Milwaukee police detective, a Rockford policeman. I had a dog go to a family with a boy with muscular dystrophy as a service dog. So these are not your run-of-the-mill backyard breeder type dogs.
That's amazing.
They are high-quality dogs. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Now, the French Bulldog, she was imported from Europe. She's a great dog. She is protective to a certain degree. I mean, she's little. But she would make her puppies would make people happy. Yeah.
That's what matters. Dogs, a companionship and something to cheer you up when you come home from work, and they're in right next to the front door when you walk in, and they're jumping and barking, and that's what dogs.
They love you unconditionally.
Absolutely.
I mean, even when you're not so nice to them, because let's be honest, when I've got bags of groceries in my hand and they're at the front door and I'm like, move, damn it.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
Do you want to eat tonight?
They're just happy as can be. Okay. And they move out of the way. I mean, they're man's best friend, and they really and truly are. They really are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great. Yeah. That's just awesome that you're doing just a whole bunch of different stuff over there.
And I'm trying to use the farm and the land that we bought and the land that we have in every way possible. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I do a doggy daycare. I do little dogs in the morning, big dogs in the afternoon. We do dog boarding. So that's another aspect with the dogs that we do. And I tap our maple trees in the spring and make maple syrup. I've got beehives. I'm using we, Jamie and I, are using every bit of our property that we can to be successful at this, because that's what it's all about.
So you're raising honeybees?
Yeah. I've got hives and I do honey.
Okay, we're going to have a little conversation. I didn't know that, so we're going to have a little conversation on that. So obviously it all starts off with a queen bee. Is that correct? Or do you buy an actual, hive and go, okay, I'm going to figure this out from there?
So I started this actually at our old house. I had one hive in our backyard. And I bought the hive pieces, the supers and the lid and all of it. I had one hive. As far as the bees, I got into this to save the bees, because it was such a big push on saving the bees, and if you save the bees, you're going to save the world, kind of a thing, which was great. And I found a place here in Harvard that you can buy your bees from. So you can buy 3-pound packages of bees with a queen, or you can buy what they call a nuke. And the nuke is like a 5-frame hive.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm following you here.
And it's already established. It's got 5 frames. It's got a queen, and it's an already established kind of hive. So you can buy them in 2 ways. You can buy them in a smaller package and build it, or you can buy it already kind of established. And I buy usually the nuke when I need to. And I bring it home and I put those 5 frames of the hive, the nuke, into a hive, and then it just grows. Bees are also very hard to get through the winter.
They are.
Very hard winters here. I'm happy if I can get half of them to make it through the winter.
That sounds like a good number, though.
Because
I'm sure there's a lot of winters you don't get.
I don't get any. Yeah. The year before, I had 1 hive make it. But because it started off in the spring so small, The following winter, it died.
Didn't make it.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I got into this to save the bees and save the bees. I'm going to save the bees. And then all the bees died.
Don't worry. I can almost guarantee this, that you are not the only one.
It's very sad. The person that I buy my hives from, my bees from, is Harvard Egg and Feed.
Okay.
Over on McGuire Road.
Yep.
And I've been friends with Sue for a long time, and I've asked her, because she does bees, obviously.
Absolutely.
And she said, yeah, she has winters where she might only have half of them, and she's got a lot of hives, or she might have none. So
yeah, it all depends.
You go in with the best intentions, but you can harvest the honey.
Yep.
So I get about 40 pounds of honey each time I harvest.
Holy crap. How often do you harvest?
Twice.
Holy crap.
Each hive. And then I filter it just through cheesecloth. I don't do anything. I don't heat it up or anything like that. I just filter it to get all the legs and wings and things out of it. And I bottle it up, and I take it over to a farmer's markets, or I sell it from our farm as a farm product. And that helps pay for the next batch of bees that I have to get in the spring. So
well, I had a conversation on one of my podcasts here quite a while ago, and it was about grain farmers and being diverse. And I said, I don't think grain farmers are diverse because they can plant corn and soybeans and wheat and hemp and whatever else that they are out there, But in a small farming operation like yours, I think you have to be diverse.
You do. So I also, like I said, tap our trees. I think there's 12 maple trees on our property. I tapped that in March. And in this past spring, I got about 400 gallons of sap. My husband.
Where do you store all this stuff?
My husband built me a sap evaporator, which is a drum, like a 55-gallon barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a sap evaporator, which is a big pan on top with a little nozzle so it can come out. And because if I had to boil this down on my stove using propane, But we've got lots of trees.
Might as well use it.
And I use the firewood. We've got a wood-burning fireplace as well, but I use the chopped wood and put it in the drum, and it heats up my sap, and it boils down. So you ask, how much do I get? Well, for 400 gallons of sap, I got about 10 gallons of maple syrup.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Again, it's something I bottle, slap a Defender Farm sticker on it, and sell it with anything else that I have. I have a large pepper garden, so I do jalapenos, I do ghost peppers, I do jalapenos, ghost, and habaneros. And then I just harvested this weekend.
Are you a spicy peppers person?
You know what? I don't eat hot sauce, but my husband loves it. So I make my own hot sauce, and I bottle it, slap a Defender Farm sticker on it, and sell it with our other farm products. So, we're trying to use every bit of our property. And sometimes, like when you're selling meat, sometimes people need that little push. Like, well, I don't know, $750 for 120 pounds of beef. I don't know. And I'll say, I'll throw in a bottle of my organic hot sauce. Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just good. Just good salesmanship right there.
Or my organic maple syrup. I'll throw in a book. Have you ever had any organic maple syrup? No, I've never had. Oh, you've got to try it. And
it's on me.
It just kind of pushes them over that edge a little bit to get.
Well, and then I know
freebie.
Being a consumer, consumers appreciate that too. Like, here I am, I'm spending X amount of dollars for X amount of meat, and they're throwing this in for nothing. Hey, that means something. That means they want my business too.
Or I'll give you a couple free dozen eggs.
Or whatever. Yeah.
You
Because I'm sure you probably, I don't think you and the hubby go through 50 eggs or 45 eggs in a day. So.
No, but I do have egg deliveries that I do locally. I do deliver. I deliver to Sharon, Chemung, Harvard, and Capron.
Perfect.
And there's no minimum. So if you only want 1 dozen, I'll bring it out to you. It's $4 a dozen, which you can't find that at the grocery store.
Nope.
Even when there was an eggs shortage, like the eggs, even like at Walmart, I saw were like $8 a dozen. I'm like,
yeah, everybody at that point was like, yeah, we're going to go without eggs for a little while.
or find a local farmer that'll sell it to you
Absolutely.
for $5 a dozen, you know?
Yep.
Because really and truly, that's I sell dozens of eggs a week.
Good.
So yeah,
That's great.
Because I can't eat 50 eggs a week. I've pickled them. I've done quiches. I'm just like.
You've made them in every way possible,
possible.
and sometimes you're like, I just have had enough.
Yeah. My husband makes breakfast every Saturday and Sunday morning, and when we've got an abundance, he'll do omelets instead of just 1 egg sandwiches or something. But you have to eat what you make. You have to eat it, whether it's pork or beef or chicken or whatever.
Well,
eggs.
That's where we're at. I mean, we don't grow our own stuff anymore, but we definitely get involved in the local fairs. We buy some animals from the local fair.
Oh,
kids.
I remember 3 little boys when I'd pull up in my school bus, running out of the barn in the morning, grabbing their backpacks,
Yeah.
hopping on and saying, "Hi, Mrs. Wilcox." Come on in, Kyle. Morning, Brandon. Hi, Galen. Get in.
Yep, that was us back in the day, no doubt. But we tend to try to give back, to the local fairs,
Yep.
and so we all got freezers full of meat and beef, and what do I got in mine right now? I got beef, pork, chicken, lamb, a little bit of everything in there. But I'm the same way. It's like I'd rather eat right out of here because I know the kids that grew that raised these animals, and I know they worked their tails off for it, and I know that they did it the right way. So I'd be happy to, and people supported me when I was that age. People supported me when I was that kid, and I was that 4-H'er trying to do it. We're in the same boat. We're just doing things a little different. You're raising and growing it, and I'm buying it from the kid that did raise it and grow it.
And he might have bought it from me as a calf, or
maybe,
or as a kid, as a goat kid or something. But and the other thing I hear a lot from people, like I said, I have groups that come out to the farm for tours and things. A lot of people want to live like this. They just don't know how. Or maybe they're too afraid to take that leap of faith, or and all I can tell them is, how good it feels to open up your refrigerator and yell across the house to your husband, "Hey, what do you want for dinner tonight? You want some chicken? Do you want some steak? Do you want a roast?" Because we got it all. And knowing that it's right in my backyard, I don't want to be all gloom and doom about society. I mean, that's another episode for another time. But who knows where we're going these days, what direction our country is going in. And just knowing that I have it in my backyard, it gives me a lot of peace. And it gives me a lot of joy to raise them and know that they're being raised right and as healthy as possible. And
hopefully that'll make you appreciate everything too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now
I think people can see it when they come out to our farm. They can feel our passion, and they can see, our animals have nice shiny coats, and they look good and they look healthy. And I think people can see that. And I think to some degree, there are some people out there that are like, yeah, this is what we want to do. We just don't know how. Yeah, you got to jump though, right? You got to take that first step. Absolutely.
That's what you got to do. And anybody that started anything out of the blue, the first step is actually just taking it.
Yeah.
Just take one step forward, whether that's buying the property or you have the property. Now it's purchasing that first calf or second calf or first hog or third chicken, whatever. It's taken that first step in the direction that you want to go.
Absolutely.
Because once you do that, everything's going to start making a path for you. It's all going to start falling in line.
It is, and you learn a lot. And,
Because
I was a city girl.
I was going to say...
I was a city girl. I grew up in the city. I went to all-girl Catholic schools, and I've learned so much. Like I said, we moved out here in 1996, and just being in a farming community, first of all, raising our kids, learning about 4-H and all those things, and you just learn, and you could take what you learn and really follow. If that's what your passion is, that's what you want to do, you can do it.
Absolutely. Because I was going to say, I'm sure you sit here after 4 years of starting this farm and then everything's hunky-dory. I'm sure you learn something every day. I'm sure there was struggles the first year you were there and you're like, why in the F am I friggin' doing this?
Yes.
Like, this is stupid.
It's not an easy life. Before I came here just today, I had my heifer that was inseminated, and just getting her in the chute and in the head gate, and I'm dripping sweat. It's humid as F outside. Or like this spring, we had literally knee-deep pudding consistency mud, and then our shelter blew over. Our 30 by 10 shelter blew over into our electric fence. We couldn't get the tractor in there to ride it. So yeah, there are challenges. Not every day, sometimes every day.
You hope not, but...
You hope not. But sometimes, sometimes you have to really, and you hope that the experiences that you have, the friends that you make, you
learn from it.
You learn from it.
And you learn to do better the next time.
Exactly.
That's the thought process.
Now, our shelter is turned. So when that southern breeze comes in the winter and blows it over again, no. We turned it so that does not happen anymore. So you learn and you make adjustments, and we have like show turkeys. Those are separate, but we had a raccoon literally like pull a couple of them, try to get them through their fencing and bit their heads off. And that was just a devastating morning.
Yep.
So what do? Well, okay, let's modify it so that doesn't happen again. And I think that's farming, is just everyday learning how to do it better.
Well, and I think...
whether you're growing corn...
Absolutely.
And this year's yield wasn't as good as last year. What did we do last year? What differences? Was it the weather? What do we do differently to make it better?
Exactly. And I think when people, if they're watching this and thinking, hey, I'd like to start my own farming operation, you're going to have to learn one thing is going to be for certain, especially if you're in livestock. Because if you have livestock, you're going to have dead stock. Yeah. And that's just the way it is.
I agree.
You're going to go out there one morning, or you're going to go to bed one night, everything's happy, kosher, go lucky, and you're going to come up next morning and a coon got in, or a fox got in there, or a calf just died overnight. Whatever.
Why? And sometimes you scratch in your head and you're like, why?
Exactly.
What happened? And sometimes you can ask your vet later on down the line, like, hey, we did have, this happen. What do you think? And he can kind of maybe give you some insight, but really you just have to adjust.
Yep.
You have to adjust and do something different. Yep. Because if you don't, guess what? It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome story. Thank you for coming over and telling it.
It's just our little life out there and the Thunder Farm.
It's the way that I look at it, just like my little property here. It's just my little slice of heaven. It's simple. It's what I want, and just like you guys, it's what you wanted, especially for 20 plus years, and that's just awesome that you're putting it to use and all the cool stuff that you guys got there. And
I appreciate you doing this. I really do. I've watched a couple of the podcasts that you had prior to, and I didn't even know you were doing this.
That's okay.
So I think it's great too that you're kind of highlighting local families, local farms, local businesses, and saying, hey, you know, you can learn something here, or this might be entertaining to you, or whatever.
It's all the above for me.
This is your passion, you know?
Yeah, well, I just enjoy doing this because I learned something. Of every one of these that I've done, I've learned something. Every one of them. And I haven't done that many. Hopefully there'll be a lot more to come. And I like learning. I like learning different aspects. I like learning different complexes of businesses. I like learning why people do things. And so this is just, for me, it's just a fun learning opportunity. And then to reconnect with people that I haven't seen in quite some time, you know, even though like we live way far away. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Sure. It's just such a fun thing to do. And well, again, thank you for coming over and doing this with me. It's been a good time.
I agree. I agree 100%. And thank you for having me.
Of course.
And
good luck. If anybody needs anything,
interest in what we're doing. So
yep. If anybody needs anything, hit her up. TheDefenderFarm.com.
You betcha. Thanks Kyle.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking to improve your truck's performance, efficiency, or appearance, check out Dan's Diesel Performance. They manufacture turbochargers, fuel injectors, fuel pumps, transmissions, intake piping, and much, much more. Plus, they offer all the top brands in the diesel industry. They're located in McChesney Park, Illinois. Visit their website at dansdieselperformance.com or give them a call at 815-977-5865.